Okay, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm Liz Dinsmore, the Director of Marketing for LEC. Want to take a minute and just welcome and thank you all for joining us this morning for our IQ Web SCADA live demo. Before we jump in and get started with things, one quick reminder, if you would please mute your microphones for us on your devices so that way we can keep the feedback to a minimum, hopefully. So with that, thank you for joining us, and I'm going to hand things off to LEC's Director of IIoT Strategy, Brian Rosema, to get us started.
Good morning, everyone. As Liz said, thank you very much for joining today. We had a great gathering and some good Q&A in our first event on Tuesday. So glad to see it's continuing today. The series of events this morning. I'm going to go through a brief slide deck just to give you a little better understanding of LEC and IQ Web SCADA. From there, I'm going to hand it over to Justin Hogue, who will give a live demonstration utilizing a simple water solution, and then we'll be turning it over to Corey Price to actually show some simple configuration of IQ Web SCADA itself. Please feel free to unmute and ask questions, provide feedback as we're going through this. The groups, we're having these frequently enough that the groups are small enough. We want to make sure that these are interactive. So with that, next slide. So a little background on LEC. We're a 30-year-old industrial automation and engineering company that has invested a great deal over the last several years in industrial IoT. We provide IoT engineering and integration services. We do have a platform called IQ Web SCADA, which you're going to see today. We also have a secondary platform called IQ2. So we provide platforms to end customers, OEMs, and alike. We also develop end-to-end IoT platforms for OEMs. So we gather requirements, really build these platforms from start to finish to provide OEMs a marketable product at the end of the day. We also provide mission-critical IoT connectivity with our Cell Data Solutions subsidiary. Cell Data Solutions is a private network, both on CDMA and GSM. It's a managed solution, so mission-critical communications is the focus. We also provide automation and controls integration consulting. We do a great deal of this, both for end customers. We work alongside systems integrators nationally, as well as we work very closely with the cellular carriers here in North America. We also provide a very strong service in IIoT network design. Most customers are not familiar with what it takes to ensure that we've really developed and built a secure quality network for industrial data, and we provide those services as well. Next slide. This is just a good summary of where we're getting traction in industrial IoT. So IoT is a very broad term. This is where LEC has not only focused its effort, but this is where we have active opportunities today. So oil and gas, and that's in transportation and pipeline, custody transfer and storage, as well as oil and drilling rig platforms themselves. We have a lot of activity in water wastewater. We're currently in the process of launching some national programs with some large carriers in this vertical, and this is a great place for all of us to continue to carve out business in industrial IoT. We do a lot in manufacturing and process plants, forestry and agriculture, utility, power generation, alternative energy, robotics and machining, chemical process, and again, we're developing these systems for OEMs, whether that be a tank manufacturer, a motor manufacturer, compressors, these types of industrial OEMs. Just a quick, a couple common deployments. We thought it would be important to share a little value proposition of IQ Web SCADA, and here's a very common one. We're deploying these on a regular basis now. These are the typical challenges that you're seeing in a SCADA retrofit in a water wastewater facility. So whether that be municipalities, cities, industrial water wastewater, Typically, these systems are aged, whether that be their communication systems or their SCADA applications themselves. Most of these systems that are aged have questionable reliability on network connectivity. Usually there's some barriers to upgrading these systems because of very high costs associated with doing so. And obviously there's regulatory concerns and growing concerns about being able to better manage water and wastewater systems. I'm a Michigan-based employee for LEC, and given what's happened in Flint here over the last couple of years, wastewater management has really been in focus nationally because, frankly, of what's happened in areas like Flint. And the other challenge is really there's a lack of internal technical capabilities. So you have SCADA managers that have been managing SCADA systems for a couple of decades. They're near retirement, and the new technology can be challenging to them. Not only that, but the younger and newer employees are looking for more interactive, more web access type applications. IQ Web SCADA does provide an update for these legacy systems. So they're getting newer, robust technology when we're doing these types of conversions. Not only that, but we're providing a new and improved network infrastructure. So what they're seeing is increased uptime and availability for monitor and control. We've also increased the cost effectiveness and reduction in operating costs. So in this case, whether it's using less chlorine, providing less truck rolls, these types of systems are really creating some very quick ROI for the end customer. Obviously, it simplifies data visibility and control. With alert and alarming capabilities, we can now send alerts and alarms via SMS and email so that we can respond quicker to faults in the field and respond to them much more readily. Obviously, then these solutions become much more reliable, sustainable, and they're certainly geared for future use. The next common deployment we see, here's a good example, as an oil and gas block valve. So this is obviously in the oil and gas vertical. So a pipeline block valve, typically these are extremely remote locations, require long truck rolls. In many cases, there's no commercial power available. In many of these cases as well, there's no remote monitor and control of these types of applications. There's typical weak cellular connectivity, so we're able to extend that network through extend access through our private network. And again, these are typically very high maintenance cost, high truck roll cost to be able to go and maintain, monitor, and control these types of facilities. Again, LEC benefits are really to provide connectivity to which in the past would be unreachable. We provide alternative power solutions. We can easily integrate solar into the cellular connectivity at these remote locations. We provide insight and control into these operations and can bring this data back to their control center, integrate it into their current business operating systems. So it's simple. It's very cost effective, again, because we're driving down the cost of truck rolls, and obviously adding security and safety both for employees and those assets in the field. Now we're going to really begin to concentrate on IQ Web SCADA. And I want to make a quick note here that IQ Web SCADA provides both data visualization and control back to these field assets. I'm going to run through some bullet points here as the value proposition and why we feel IQ Web SCADA is a market changer and is really the market's adapting and accepting it quite readily. Asset connectivity and data population into our user interface happens in minutes. We're able to provide our customers a gateway that's pre-configured for IQ Web SCADA. Once the device is online, relatively this is in minutes, we have data populated into the user interface. There's a real ease of creating data tags. There's simple widget selection from a list that goes into the UI. We provide data trending and graphics, and we can overlay multiple data points into the analytics, into the graphics, so you can troubleshoot, you can further investigate fault notifications and alarms, and really provide good quality support to these devices in the field. It's also geared to be highly efficiently use cellular data. So most of our SCADA systems are sub 25 megabytes. We're able to make sure that we're providing as much control and analytics at the edge, so we're not transmitting large volumes of data. The application can be used via Modbus, analog, digital, serial inputs and outputs. A wide variety of different I/O can be incorporated into IQ. Visualization control can be accessed through any browser-enabled device, so whether that's a field tablet, your cell phone, your desktop, a laptop, it doesn't matter. As long as you can get to a browser, obviously you can get to IQ and provide both monitoring control functionality. We have admin and user level access, so security for users is relatively easy to administrate. Alerts and alarms are provided via email and SMS to a wide variety or a short list. And we provide a link directly to that alert or to the user interface with that alert. So if you were to get an alarm, it's very easy to get right into the application quickly and easily to begin to do some analytics and to uncover the issues that are creating that fault notification. And we also provide response logging and reporting so that you can see who and when those responded to those alerts and alarms. Ease of creating data tags. I mean, this is really some power of IQ, is that from one screen an admin user can create a new or edit an existing tag. You can choose your I/O type, you can set the scan frequency on how often that data goes into the application, choose the widget, provide some detailed description of that tag, and once that's refreshed, the data actually begins to populate into the UI. Corey will show you this in the live demo, but this is really a simple tool, and that's what we're trying to get across today, is simplified industrial IoT. Simple alarm setup and delivery. Easily create alarms based on data thresholds. So we can create these alarms. We can obviously push these alarms to a short list or a long list of recipients depending on the user type. We can allow access to these field assets by specific users, and we can produce these alarm history reports. On the screen here you can see two simple screens. We can add and modify alarms here. There's a simple reporting, and obviously this is how the alarms go to a cell phone for visibility and control. Straightforward data acquisition, analytics, and training. Again, very simple user interface. You can easily choose what data tags you want to view in the analytics. You can set the time frame of over a period of time in which you view that data. You can overlay multiple tags, and all this data can be easily exported into CSV. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Justin. Justin's going to provide a quick overview of a live solution. Please, again, if there's any questions, maybe we can pause right here real briefly, Liz. Are there any questions so far? Okay, very good. Justin?
Okay, so let's take all of that Brian just walked us through, just described to us, and let's translate that over into a live setting. So what we've got on the should be on your screen now. You should be looking at a video feed that shows a demo system that we're going to use for purposes of today's demonstration. A lot of Brian's talk had to do with water and wastewater, so we thought it made sense to utilize a live demo that really depicted that scenario for us. So what we've got here is we've got a Redline Ram 6000 that is controlling the level in this upper tank. If you can see my cursor here, the video quality is not that great, but if you can see the water level in this upper tank, you can actually see it going up and down in the tank, which is being controlled by the pump in the lower tank. So we're using an analog input from this ultrasonic level sensor here to provide a level signal to the controller in the control panel here. So, sure. Somebody have a question? Okay. All right. So moving forward, what we're going to do now is we're going to switch over to the IQ Web SCADA user interface, and we're going to look at what this data looks like in the user interface and see really get a feel for how that data flows up to the platform, and walk through a few of the features that Brian described to us earlier. So what we're looking at now is the landing page for the device itself. When the user logs in, Corey will walk through this in a few minutes as he shows us how to configure some of these things. But when a user logs in, he'll land on a dashboard, which is a listing of every device that the user subscribed to associated with the user account. Once you select an individual site or device, this is the default page that you'll land on when you navigate to that device. So again, thinking about the application, and I'm going to be sure we have auto refresh turned on here so that we actually see some live data. What you see here is reflected in the demo that I showed you on the video feed a minute or two ago. Some of the things I want to show you here before Corey gets started with configuration is some of the analytical capabilities that we have. Obviously, you can see the graphics. We've got a library of simple widgets to depict data values, data points. You can see they animate as the values change. The widgets animate, and so we've got a library of those that can be used for a multitude of different representations of different types of signals, and we continue to develop that library as time goes on. So what I mentioned, analytics, we're gonna get into that a little bit here. We're gonna look at what the trending capabilities are, and as we get going here, okay, there we are. I'm going to condense this to about 15 minutes as we do have a scaled down model for what would be equivalent to a water system, or maybe a well keeping elevated tanks full. We also have a condensed cycle time, so we generate quite a bit of data here with this. But what I wanted to show here is how the trending works and the ability to do things like overlay different trends or a number of trends, data points to allow for various types of analytics, even troubleshooting for operational staff. You can see here we've overlaid the pump running status to on top of the level trend, so we can see the impact, obviously, of the pump running on the level itself. One of the features that Brian sort of keyed on was the alarming features, which on the device page there's a list of current alarms, which can be acknowledged, which will reflect the user who acknowledges those. One of the things we did want to show you here is we're going to generate an alarm here, and we'll go ahead and do that now. And as we continue to talk through this, that alarm will come through, and I'll show you what that looks like. Brian talked about the process of alarm generation being sent via email or text message. One of the things I'm going to show you here today is the text message and how the link brings the user back to the device itself. Okay, I don't know if you heard that or not. The alarm just came through to my cell phone. So I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to switch back to the video feed. I'm actually going to hold this up to the camera. If you can see that, I don't know with the video quality how well you can see that, but you can see where the message came through to my phone, and here it includes the link back to IQ Web SCADA. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to log in here using my credentials. If I can get my password correct. Okay, so now you see where the when I logged in, it landed me straight on the device that generated the alarm. And as I scroll down, I see what the active alarms are, and I can acknowledge that alarm. So I'll just go ahead and do that while I'm here. Okay. And I got notified that the alarm was acknowledged. So, which is a handy thing for operational staff, especially where you have more than one person responsible for management of a system. That way, everybody gets that same notification that's on the distribution list. So while we're here with the live demo, Brian, is there anything else you can think of that we need to touch on before Corey gets started with walking us through the configuration process?
I think that was well done. Maybe open it up briefly for any questions at this phase. Any questions, anyone? Okay, I think that's good. Corey?
All right. One thing that I did not do was introduce Corey, so I'll do that. Corey Price is going to walk us through the how we configure some of these things. Corey is a computer engineer here with LEC. He is involved with the majority of our development as it relates to IQ Web SCADA, automation, and IQ2. So with that, we'll let Corey get started.
All right. So guys, I'm going to walk us through kind of the creation of a tag and just kind of show you the simplicity of the system and how easy it is to get going in it. So you've got these two tabs at the top here, View, and then we have Device. And when you're doing your configuration and you're viewing, you're going to live within these two tabs. So the options under Device are going to be for configuration. You see tags, alarms, settings, templates. So we're going to dive right into the tags, and this will take us to where we can actually edit existing tags or create new ones. So we're going to go in and just, let's say that we have an additional pump we've added to this system. And we'll just call this pump 2 command, and we'll just say that this is a digital out so that we can turn our second pump on. And as you see, there's a multitude of different tag types that you can create here: analogs, discretes, longs, and floats. So we'll give a register number. We'll say 100. And one thing to note here is that in the client device in the field, these will be offset by 1. So the red line device would actually have 101, and it will subtract 1 from that, and it'll be 100 on the cloud side. So this scan delay setting here has some different time values in it, and this is how often the field device will scan the I/O out there in the database. So we're going to be checking to turn a pump on. We'll just say 5 seconds. It's important to know that's not going to say how often it updates to the cloud. This is just how often it's updating it in the field there locally. And this max delay setting is how often we want to deliver it to the cloud. If we leave it disabled, we'll actually only send this data to the cloud on change, which would conserve on data usage. But for some tags, you might want to deliver that on some set interval, regardless if it's changed, and you can do that here. We could say, deliver that data tag every 15 minutes, regardless of if the state's changed. Just deliver the latest value to me. So for ours, we're going to leave it on disabled. And then we have a description text entry here where you can put, any kind of comments you want to put in here. So we'll say, turn pump 2 on or off. And those graphics that you saw back on the previous page are associated here. So if we wanted to have, let's say, a green light whenever the pump comes on, we'll have that associated to the pump 2 command right here. You can also order those graphics on the other page. Depending on how many you have, if you had, I think we have 3 on the other page, we can say which one we want to display first, second, or third. This Don't Save History button here is for the recording that you guys saw before where Justin displayed the graph. So this is where you tell it you want to save it or don't want to save it. We're going to leave this not selected so that we will record that history and have access to the graphical information. We've got a show on dashboard. This will just make it be displayed on the dashboard page. And then these last 3 tabs are associated with the reporting. So reporting is very important for you guys. Or I'm sure that weekly or daily we could create reports and have those automatically emailed to someone back in the main office for analytical purposes. So that's everything under the general tab for a tag creation. And under the discrete tab here at the top right, we can actually associate our own kind of text with the value. So if the pump's off, we could say pump 2 is off. If it's on, we could say pump 2 is on. Or you could leave it as default and it would just say on or off. So now that we've created that, we'll hit save. And we should be able to go back up to our top tab. And we're going back to the view page, so we'll go back to view and then tags and alarms, and this is where we can go actually see our information. And there we go. We've got our pump 2 command widget there. It's gray right now because it's not actually on. So let's give a refresh here. Okay, pump 2 command. Let me go double check my tab over here. Let's see. Make sure I selected that as a DO. I believe I did. Okay, now let's go back up to the view and let's see if we can actually get our control buttons to display. So there we go. So now we've got our pump 2 command created, and it's hyperlinked with the blue because we can actually click on it and go see the history of it. It took a minute. That delay was because the client had to be updated with that information, so it took a minute for that to get back to us. So now we have these on and off buttons for it, and we can actually control that value. So if we tell it to turn on, it's going to send this value down to the client. Once the client device has that value, he's going to send it back up and confirm that he's on, and then we should get a green indicator light there. We'll make sure that we do have our auto update every 5 seconds. We'll come back to that. So while we're waiting on that, I'm going to go, well, there we go. It showed up green there. All right, so now I'm going to take you guys to see how the alarms are actually configured. So, and again, under devices, we're going to do our configuration. So that second one there is for the alarms. So let's dive back into the alarms. And here's where we can actually configure those. Just like the tag creation, you've got that same button for new up there. We'll click new. And we'll look through the list for our command, and there it is, pump 2 command. The tag type will be automatically selected for you. It's a discrete. And this value is for the comparison. So we're going to say when that pump 2 command value is equal to this, we want to generate the alarm. So we'll leave that on true. So whenever that value turns on, we'll get that alarm. The delay section here is how long that value has to be in that state before we'll generate the alarm. And we'll leave that just on the default none. So as soon as that tag happens, it'll immediately generate the alarm. So we can add some notes here, alarm if pump 2 is on. And we'll go ahead and save that. So now we've got our alarm created. And let's go back up to the view section here. Okay, and that pretty much covers the alarm section. I do want to also show you guys how you create your reports. So let's run to that. And if under the View tab, there's a section called History, and this is where all the values that you've said, record history on will be saved. So if you wanted to come in and manually generate a report, you could come into this section here and select Export. You could give a date range, maybe you want to do this every month, give a date range of a week, whatever that might be if you're looking for some event. And then you could select download file, and you would have a CSV file that you could run analytics back in the office on. And I think I've pretty much covered all my points there, Brian, and unless you have something else you'd like for me to add here.
Well, I think we can pause there for any questions, comments.
Brian, this is Justin speaking. I'm gonna add to just to kind of expand on what we've talked about with the widgets that we have, in the libraries and whatnot. I mentioned earlier that's something that we continue to develop. However, in a case where an end user would rather have an application that is not so much resemblant to a mobile application or something along those lines, but would rather develop a user interface that is more comparable to what we're accustomed to in the industrial world in an HMI, we can do that. We've got the ability to implement templates that basically you can get as fancy as you want to get with it, with HTML, JavaScript, or whatever. I just wanted to make that point. The screen that we're looking at now with the widgets and the tag values and the alarms and whatnot is really, we can take that stuff away and basically just provide a blank canvas for user interface development. I just wanted to make that point. Our goal with IQ is to simplify, and the way we do that is by having pre-developed templates that display the tag values and alarms, and allow for the implementation of these standard widgets. With a representation, a graphical representation there to meet the majority of our needs as it relates to individual tags. So I just wanted to make that point before we moved on to the rest of the Q&A. Anybody else want to add anything to that?
No, good point.
Okay. So questions, I guess we're asking for questions.
Well, I'm going to assume, Justin, a lack of questions means that you and Corey have done a great job in presenting IQ. Again, the point of this demonstration was to show you not only the simplicity and the ability for systems integrators and end customers to self-manage and control and develop on IQ without the need, of a software programmer or an engineer. That the simplicity of IQ really enables our end customers and our users to embrace industrial IoT, take the confusion and the chaos, out of this as a solution, and to really make this a cost-effective, easy approach to remote monitoring control. I'll open it up one more time if there are any questions. If not, I'll let you know that we are going to be sending a follow-up email. If you have any cost-related questions, or if you've got any need for a further deep dive, we can certainly do that at your request. So one more time, any other questions? Okay. With that, we're going to give you 25 minutes back in your day. Again, we really appreciate you joining today. We look forward to working with y'all, and have a wonderful afternoon.